Hey everybody. Uh, I was doing another little video for Malco Jojo OneSixGo, and this one is just basically a pet peeve kind of rant. Um, when I see people posing figures and just not really paying attention, it makes me a little crazy. It really does help, just little things that you may not be thinking about when you're taking photos of figures and stuff. I don't really do a lot of cheesecake, uh, ladies in lingerie laying around kind of stuff, so I probably won't be able to help much there. But for the simple standing around, kind of posing every day kind of stuff, there's little things that people tend to do that kind of just just if you just paid a little more attention. And again, I'm not an expert. I'm just saying this is just stuff that I do, and I thought that it might be helpful. So you can see here with these two, Cindy on the right in black and Claire in red on the left. You're just paying attention to little things like, the hands, are they facing the right way? There's, this kind of thing that happens sometimes where there's a hand that's just at a wrong angle and it just doesn't make any sense. So just a little things, if I could do this here. Of course, she's going to fall down. But it just makes a world of difference, if it's like, oh, that's how a hand is, little things like that. Sitting positions, people bend certain ways. And when you don't have them in that way, it takes away from your realism, feet on the floor, not hovering, little things like that. Another kind of thing that I do, which I didn't do for this, but hold on to your old toothbrushes because they're great for doing the hair, especially if they're soft. It doesn't do that poofy thing that like some of the Barbie brushes do. And it's a great way to kind of tame your hair a little bit. That's another little thing that I do. Then over here, another kind of sample example. Oh no, what happened to her head? So let's say in this situation, someone's looking at something on the floor. So yeah, sure, you can just take the head and crank the head down to look at said object on the floor. But that's not how people work. Like this, think about, like, if I was to look at this, would I just turn my head to the floor and was like even just doing it, I just did it. And it's just like, I feel like I'm choking. But in this case, it's like, oh, the shoulders are moved. It's like, it's still the same effect, but it's, your body does like a natural thing. When your head moves, your shoulders and stuff tend to move too. And you bend at the waist, things like that. And then line of sight, you can see here that Olivia in black here is looking at them and actually looking at them. And another thing that people sometimes do is it's a small difference, but it's like, oh, that person is not looking at that person anymore. They're looking somewhere else, especially when you're shooting like this. Like, where is she looking? That's another thing to pay attention to. Back over here in this set, we have a little conversation going on as more line of sight kind of thing. So James here is looking over here, and these guys are looking at each other. So when you do your photos, it actually looks like they're looking at each other instead of looking off in the distance. And just little things like just standing poses. There's a way people stand, and it's not with their backs arched and stuff usually, unless, of course, you're going for a specific look. And it just tends to look more natural when you pay a little more attention just to how figures stand. And if you need help, just, there's times where I'll like work it out. Like, okay, if I'm standing here, how would I be standing? And you can see he has his soda in his hand and he's relaxed. He has his hand in his pocket. And it's kind of chill. She's carrying a skateboard like you would carry a skateboard. And so like little things, paying attention to little things like that, I think really, really helps. And a lot of people just don't. And it's when you're working with like some of the Barbies, the arms only move a certain way, so it's hard to achieve that same kind of effect. But with these Phisons and, gyro dolls and whatnot, these seamless figures, that's the benefit of working with figures like this, is you get to actually bend them and have them look realistic. Now, going back over here to Claire, the other thing I like to watch out for, and these gyro dolls do this, if you bend these figures too much, you start to get weird creases. This one, not so much. But that's another thing to watch out for is, if you're bending these guys too much, they're going to crease weird and it's going to look strange. And then, of course, pro tip, when you're working with these seamless figures, you don't want to leave them in that position for too long, because they can kind of either get permanent crinkles or, wreck the seams. I actually have, is this the one? Yeah, you can see the back of this arm started to get a little funky. I left it for a while in a very extreme position, so that wasn't good. What else? Little things like action poses, or, again, just making things look natural. You can see here, Hellgirl has like a natural stance, or, pay attention to the body kind of language. There's even books, there's some books in Japan that all, just talks about posing. And if you're really serious and you really you can't figure it out on your own, you can always invest in that, or just look at, magazines, kind of get an idea of how real people bend and the like. It makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference. And it's really simple to do if you just pay attention and don't rush it. And I do it myself where, sometimes I'll not pay attention to something and it just comes out looking weird, and it's like, it just bugs the hell out of me. And it happens. So that's, something to take into account. The other thing that I do, this is another kind of pro tip, after losing several figures to this, I will not leave these guys standing up. I'll actually lay them down and kind of, if I plan to use them again in the near future, I'll leave them out. But I always come back in and lay them down, because if you don't, you can get some breakage. These guys, especially with temperature fluctuation, if you leave them like this, sometimes the ankles kind of just give, they topple, and they go down to the floor, and their necks break, or their arms break. So that's definitely something to look out for. I even saw someone who was just putting a head on and snapped the neck, just putting a head on it. So that's something to watch out for. As far as posing goes, the one thing I really do get lazy with is the hands. So there's different kind of hands from different kind of things, right? This is my go-to hand set here. It's like, I'm just hanging out. Because, when you are, just walking around day to day, you're usually kind of relaxed hands. These two, they have this kind of flexed kind of hand, which is kind of nice. But what I tend not to do is, like here, let's see, like her hand, that is not a relaxed hand that is something that should be holding something. But I'll let it slide sometimes, and sometimes I'll put it on their hips or, something. You see it there too. These guys work in a cafe, so I usually have one hand ready to hand a coffee cup or something. But I don't like taking the hands off and putting new hands on, because I've heard numerous people with peg breakages on their hands. It has not happened to me yet, but I'm sure it will. It's a common thing. And if you're careful and you remove the hands properly, you can avoid it. But I just tend to play it safe and just leave them and hide them if I have to. The old hand on the hip thing is a pretty good way to go. So anyway, that's my rant for today. A biggie is just, like I said, paying attention to, the general positions of people and how people, work. Reference materials, key, and just taking a minute just to double check if you really are into taking photos. Just, double check them and make sure that it's looking right. And it doesn't, once you get it, becomes more and more natural. So I hope this helped. Again, let me know if there's anything else you are interested in. I thought about covering storage next time. I got a lot of storage going on, so I might do that because that is another bane of our existence as collectors in this hobby. All right. Thank you very much. And let me know if there's anything else you want me to cover.